All right, guys. Very special episode here. The Dakota Dunes Casino Open champion, fluent speaker of Flush, current caddy of Sungjae, currently on the road delivering Sungjae's clubs to Phoenix. Got a long drive ahead of him. None other than Willie Wilcox. Willie, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Nice job on the Dakota Dunes reference. That was 14 years ago.
Dude, that's one of my favorite events. How could anyone forget the Dakota Dunes? Like it's literally the fifth major. Everyone calls it that. So thank you for joining me. I know you got a long drive ahead of you. So apologize for the car noise, but we desperate times, desperate measures. We needed to get this interview in. So thanks for being here.
Heck yeah, man. No problem at all. I actually enjoy these drives.
Yeah, I'm a big driver myself too, so I do like the drive. So before we get into like the real questions, I'm just gonna do four quick questions. Just go through some quick hitters. I got to talk about your Sawgrass Ace, the yellow ball. The yellow ball is the big question. Were you always a yellow ball guy, or was that just like a yearly thing? I need to talk about that.
Yeah, it's just tricks on their when they were trying to stand out from all the other balls back then, and they released a yellow one, and I think they liked it. That was when they got bought by like SRI Sumitomo or whatever, so they were pushing that yellow ball, and actually I got paid more.
I did not think about that because there's very few yellow ball guys now. I can only think of like Pete Malnati and then a few older heads use the yellow balls now. So
Yeah,
when I was
just got
watching that
more
video the
money.
other day,
I wanted more money.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I would do the same thing. So I know
Hell
you're an
yeah.
Alabama guy. I know you're an Alabama guy. I don't know how much you're into the Tide, but just your quick Saban thoughts. Obviously, he's leaving. He's going to be playing a ton more golf now. Just overwhelming Saban thoughts to the state of Alabama.
The so Saban, yeah, I know he bought a house on Jupiter. You said Saban, right? The noise.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So I know he just bought a compound next to Tiger Woods. So I think he's going to cruise into retirement pretty good. I think he hasn't been working too much the last whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not really a football guy anymore. That's all my redneck friends back home. That's what they do. I just, whatever. I don't follow college football anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely gonna be chilling now. Got a house in Jupe. Good life
He'll
he
be
has. Good life
fine.
he
He'll be
has.
fine.
So a quick question about the Ocean Course. Your lowest round and your highest round while playing there, caddying there, that you had yourself.
I we didn't get to play 1 to 18 too many times. I probably
Really?
did it
Okay.
5 times total. I've played there probably 50 times, but when you're walking and you also did a loop that day, that's a lot of mileage. So,
Right.
and you run out of daylight because we can only tee off post like basically noon or 1 o'clock. Anyways, one time I shot like 66 from the backs, and then I
That'll play.
probably shot. Yeah, I ripped it up out there because it plays soft. Um,
Yeah.
but I probably shot as high as like 78 or 80 other times.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like looping there, you're tired. I literally tell people to this day, the most tired I ever was in my life was the Sunday of the PGA when Phil won. I was there from like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. the whole round, and just walking that course, the sand. It's literally like one of the longest courses in the damn country. Set up in those conditions, it was an abs. I was drained as I've ever been. Like, and I work out every day, and like I've never been so tired. So I can't imagine what carrying a bag is like there every single day. I get probably gassed every day.
You get exhausted. Shit, this week, caddying in that slop in Northern California was pretty rough.
Oh, I
Even
can
last week
imagine.
in San Diego. But yeah, if the ground is soft underneath you and you're carrying 2 bags, which we did out there, it was always a double. Yeah, you get pretty fucking exhausted. It took a couple of months, or maybe took 1 full month of doing it like 5-6 times a week before I was like actually used to it and didn't like pass out. Just yeah, in a heap.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough 3 week stretch for you or 4 week stretch. You got Kapalua, that's definitely not an easy walk, and then these past 2 weeks have been a mess. So your legs are probably ready for a break.
Honestly, I've been doing it for over a year now, and when you're doing it 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 days in a row, which I just did, I got to rest yesterday though. I'm fine. The physical part isn't the hard part at all. It's the mental and guiding somebody through a $20 million purse. That's the part that makes you tired.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, most unconscious you can remember being, whether you're playing with your buddies, playing on tour, just overall, like every golfer has it. Even if you're a 15 handicap, you have a round where you're like, I can't miss right now. What is the single-handed most unconscious you remember being in your golf career?
One time in a Hooters event, I was 2 over through 4 and shot 11 under.
That's
Um,
playing golf.
yeah, I
My
shot
man.
11. That was sick. I mean, I shot a 59 on the Corn Ferry Tour, so I've been. I think I was 9 under in an 8-hole stretch once.
Unreal, unreal. All right, so let's get into some more golf questions. Some about you, some about Sungjae, just overall golf. Let's take it back to your college days. Talk me through how did you end up at UAB? Just the recruiting process, uh, Alabama golf. How'd that end up?
Um, yeah, Alabama, Birmingham. My mom was the women's coach there for like 3 years before I started in '04. So, I mean, it was just I wasn't like good enough to be a big recruit at Alabama or Auburn. I was ranked 17th in the country, but they'd already given all their
Crazy.
scholarships out. Patton Kazire, Gator Todd, and those from my graduating class in Alabama. That was all the money to the big name schools. So they gave me basically a full ride to UAB after I made match play in the U.S. Junior, and I had a second and an AJGA, and was shooting a lot of low scores. So it's like the redheaded stepchild a little bit. Is the the third tier school. I mean, it's still Division 1, but it's
Yeah, it's still great golf.
yeah, and that was short lived. I only played 4 tournaments there, but yeah, UAB was where I was going probably from ninth grade on when I realized that I wasn't as good as Patton and Gator.
Yeah, that's a crazy. The margins are probably so small too. Like you said, you're 17th ranked player in the state, and still like they
Or
don't give out
country.
scholarships or country. I mean, yeah, that's even crazy. Like
Yeah,
yeah, that's tough. So
yeah.
after UAB, talk about your path to the PGA Tour through the Corn Ferry Hooters, whatever you want to call it. So how did you end up on the tour?
Just Corn Ferry. Obviously, I had my event in Canada, a little run in Canada. That was good. That's what got me my first tour start in 2010. I mean, Hooters Tour is what you did right out of the gate. You moved to Orlando and just start ripping it up on the, riding in cart winter series because I played a few summer series, whatever, and that was against great players. That level of mini tour golf doesn't exist anymore. Ever since the 2008. So anyhow, I got some high level competition there, and then Corn Ferry Tour we just hit the Monday circuit, and in my I think third Monday qualifier I Mondayed in and finished second, so that got me full status. So I'd only been pro for 18 months when that happened, so I got lucky that I didn't have to get through Q school. I was able to get in another way, and then I ripped it up out there after a little bit of time, about another year and a half Corn Ferry, and then I got to the tour in 13, and yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it's pretty straight. That's pretty straightforward. A lot of guys bounce around a lot. It's a pretty cool path. So I mentioned Kiwa earlier. Talk about your life in Kiwa. Were you in Charleston a lot? I know you talked about on the other a recent podcast you were on why you left Kiwa. I don't know if you want to. You don't have to mention that. This could be for another podcast. But how is it living on the island in that area of the country?
Oh, I loved it. Oh my god, I absolutely love it. And my love for Seth Rayner,
Yeah,
it really got to kick in, and because he made a couple stops there, Country Club of Charleston and Yeaman's Hall. But yeah, I mean, it was great. It was great while it lasted, and just while I was transitioning up there, I lived with somebody for about 6 weeks, and the guy obviously had some problems in life and ended up breaking into my next house that I started renting. So
unreal.
I'm no big deal. It's not like a sore subject. I mean, I just hope that dude's all right because obviously he
Yeah.
wasn't that night.
Yeah, my jaw dropped when I was listening to that podcast. I was like, they just broke into your house like out of nowhere, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
nuts, nuts.
Yeah, I'm laying in bed, and my bedroom door flies open, and he's there hurling drunken threats with that drunken crazy eye. And yeah, I mean, it was just a situation where you're looking at him like, okay, this rage isn't necessarily directed at me. Like, this guy's got something going on.
Yeah, that had to have been like top most scared you've ever been in your life. Just middle of the night, you hear someone break into your house, but then you realize it was someone you
Yeah,
knew.
it
That's
was
unreal.
awful. I mean, but it just made me be like, well, I mean, I have the luxury of not having to like worry about stuff like that. Like I can just leave, which I was about to leave to go to Florida for a month anyway, and then Hawaii,
Right.
and then on the season. So it just made me leave Charleston a little sooner than I would have liked to. But yeah, I'll I'll always remember that.
That is insane. So you mentioned that you weren't able to play the ocean course too much, but you did mention before we did the podcast, you're going to play golf tonight. So how much are you playing right now, and where is the game at?
I'm playing good. I mean, it'll be televised on Peacock on Wednesday night, so I hope it's good.
Oh,
Um,
little
because I'm
plug there.
playing
What do you got going on?
the Good event it's called the Desert Open, and I'm playing with Dan Rappaport in a
Oh, Danny
two-man
Rapp.
lit par three golf course. It's I mean, you can Google it, or it's a lot of the big influencers are going to be there. Not that I was just invited because he wants a ringer, but
Not
that'll be cool. Anyways, I'll probably stop and play somewhere today on this route. I have Rapp's extra set of clubs in the car with me, and so yeah, I play every day, all day. Not when I'm caddying though, because obviously that's 12 or 13-hour days.
right.
Um, Last week especially, and when Sungjae misses a cut, he doesn't like that. He does not like that. So we grinded extra hard last week. So anyhow, yeah, I play every day. My game's good. My putting isn't great, but I hit the ball as good or better than I ever did, and my pitching is good. Chipping's not great. Putting is not great.
So it's a mixed bag, but overall good. You think you're gonna fare well on Wednesday?
I mean, I won the Caddy event last week in Palm Springs, so
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I am playing well, and my short irons and mid irons, which is what this par three is, they've been good. So I mean, whether we convert the putts or not, I don't know, but I like to think that I have an advantage over people that have never played professional golf.
So that's Wednesday night Peacock. I'm not sure when when this podcast is releasing, but if it's before then, definitely tune into that because I will definitely be watching that. So talk
Yeah.
about some golf courses. Your favorite course on tour, and then favorite course like outside of the PGA Tour that you just played with your buddies or something like that.
Uh, Riviera. I like
Great
Riviera.
one.
Didn't necessarily like it at first. I mean, granted, I haven't caddied in the Masters, and I haven't caddied at too many U.S. Opens, so that might change in the future. But Riv is the shit, and just the
Yeah.
whole atmosphere around it is neat. And yeah, and outside of it, um, I really like Yeaman's Hall an awful lot in Charleston, but that question, the answer to that always it changes every
Changes.
time because I play somewhere new sick. So
Okay,
um,
so let's get into the Sungjae stuff if you don't know exactly what course. But I mean that's a good answer anyway. But once you're down in Florida, we got to play the park because I think you're gonna like it. It is a
the one
fun
in West
course.
Palm.
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah! I can't wait to play those. I've played Panther National. I'm looking forward to playing
Have you?
Apogee. Yeah, I'm looking at all that shit.
Okay. Maybe
I'm
when you're
moving
down
down
here,
there.
yeah, I live down the street from the park, so it's I've played it a handful of times. It is a fun track.
I looks it, and I'm gonna move back there 100% when the yeah it's some point in the next year. But I'm gonna be down there to play golf quite a bit too. So anyhow.
Oh hell yeah! All right, so let's get into Sungjae. How did it just do the bit? How did it happen? Like, how did you connect with Sungjae?
I got paired with him in 2018 for the final round when I was still competing. His first event was in the Bahamas, and that was my obviously first event of that season. But it was like my 11th season as a pro, and he was 19. I was whatever 30 something, and I watched him win by six. I came in fourth. And then the next week, I got paired with him again on Sunday. So I got to watch him go first, second in his first two events. And so I became a big fan. And I was always kind of like, I knew I was good at golf, but I just enjoyed playing against better players.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm not my pride, I swallowed that shit years ago. So I just became an instant fan of him, and I was the first kind of American that maybe was very engaging with him and like tried to really say what's up.
Right.
And be like, you're the fucking man, dude. Sorry if you
Yeah.
can't curse on this,
No,
but
yeah.
I've
You
always
could
just been a
curse on
big
this.
fan, and then I got paired with him, and then let's see, I was caddying for Lonto a year ago, and he saw me out there caddying, and then he saw me caddying again at the U.S. Open, and I guess that was enough for him to be like, and he was going through a transition. He let go of his caddy right then. I mean, it's right time, right place, but he stopped me in the locker room, and he'd missed the cut at the U.S. Open. My guy made the cut, and he stops me and he goes, Willie, you caddy? I was like, yeah, I caddy. And he goes, you caddy for me.
That is a great Sungjae story because
Yeah.
I want to get into the communication stuff too, but like that is hilarious. You just said that. So you've been friends with him for a while, and then over time, I guess you crossed paths at the right time, and here you guys are now.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Nothing is, obviously. I mean, he takes it very seriously, and you got to ride the wave with him, and it gets pretty
Yeah,
intense when it's coming down the stretch. Um, but he's so good, and
so good.
he's only mishit the ball like a handful of times in these last couple of weeks. He found the move though, so he's hitting it really well. But he got a little. The only time I've seen him hit it poorly was at Torrey, and then the first couple rounds this week. But poorly is whatever. That's not necessarily in stone. That's up for debate. But now he's legitimately flushing like he was last fall.
Oh, that's great to know. That is really great to know for me. All right, so talk about meters. How I know it's just a simple equation, but was it interesting or like hard to make that transition as a caddy?
No, I mean the meters. There's less of them. Obviously, it's a larger unit of measurement, and it's 10%. So, I really like 143 meters is what 157 yards. So it's not too bad. I cruised into it pretty good. I haven't passed a math class since my junior year of high school.
Yeah, I mean, once you're
So
working with it, I guess it just comes. But I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to do that like that quick on the fly. Just like especially in pressure situations, you're like, all right, times point one. Like it's pretty impressive.
to this day, it's you'd be able to figure it out really easy. To this day, I still have to. So like his clubs they go 130, 140, 150, 160. It's a lot easier because it's round numbers or like a
Yeah,
five. And like oh, how far do you hit your 8 iron? 174. It's
yeah,
not, you
it's
don't have to
around.
nitpick yards. So there's more yards, less meters rather. So honestly, I really like it.
So when I in the past few years, obviously I watch hours of golf every single week. I like noticed with his old caddy Billy Spencer, like it looked like they didn't know how to communicate. It looked like it just was weird. I don't know if that's just because like the obviously it's a language barrier, but it looked like they were confused at times. It could have just been me, but how is the communication between you guys?
I mean, it depends on how sometimes he'll play a little faster. So the only we sometimes we've had very few miscommunications, but he sometimes when he's frustrated will go through the process a little too quickly. We've only gotten one number wrong,
Okay.
but it was just when he'd hit it in the water. So it's all about just like slowing him down a little bit and just making sure that we agree on and our two. We're both stepping the number off. We're both doing everything, but we definitely come up with the club selection together, and we double confirm everything. I mean, it's just numbers and wind directions and pointing and body language and fucking inflection, and it's. And I read the greens too, so we always have shit to talk about. We always have like
Right.
golf. Just a stream of consciousness, this like conversation happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, have you guys been together in like like a real high pressure spot yet? Whether that's like maybe a cut line, like you haven't been in a final group yet on the weekend. I unless I'm mistaken. Is that correct?
uh, I mean, I think he has once or twice, but it's like a Saturday, and then he shoots like
Okay.
one under, and ends up in the third to last group. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so I think we were in the last group on the I believe, the third round with Lucas Glover on Memphis last year. But anyway, we've been in the
Okay.
shit quite a bit, but not like necessarily for the win.
Right. Okay. I know what you're saying. So that's gonna happen sooner than later for sure. There's definitely some Sungjae courses coming up, and I can't wait to see how that dynamic pans out. Speaking of Sungjae venue, just like as me as a full-time golf gambler, full-time golf content guy, I know where Sungjae plays well at least where he has in his career. Does he prefer like the Birdie Fest, the easier venues, or like the Torrey Pines of the world, the major venues? Like, because I know some guys do and don't. So, what's Sungjae prefer?
He definitely prefers the like 15 under winning totals,
Okay.
but I mean, he still balls out. I mean,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
20. I would say the weeks where it's a dome, those are, I mean, he doesn't necessarily like to play in a lot of wind, but he prefers firm conditions, and where 3 or 4 under is a really good round. That's
Right.
why I think he's really going to contend in some firm, somewhat calm condition majors, because he's just does such a good job with his spin rate and being able to control the spin. So anyhow, and when it hits the ground, it generally bounces straight. But
Yeah.
he won Honda, which was probably 12 under when he won, and then he
Hmm.
won Las Vegas, which is a high number, which would be like 20 something. But anyhow, I think he can play good at any time, but he definitely prefers 10, 12, 15 under winning total.
Yeah. I say that just because if you're like a casual golf fan, attention, Xander Schauffele just withdrew. If you're wondering.
Oh
Um.
no.
Yeah. From
A
Phoenix.
lot of
Wow.
guys, a lot of guys are. They
Yeah.
don't want to deal with that shit.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Okay. So I say that because if you're a casual golf fan and you don't know too much about it, you just know like Sungjae is a birdie maker. Sungjae is an absolute 25 under guy. Like he literally just set the course record or the birdie record at in Hawaii. So, but I kind of agree with you. I feel like Sungjae is more of a prefers that 15 under ball striking type venue. So that's good to know.
Yeah, he does. I really think if the ball striking and the wind conditions and the greens and everything line up, he's going to contend for some majors for real. He already has. He already has. But like,
Yeah.
I really think now that he's 25, he's matured. He's not worried about the military. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
He's
That's
still got
true.
more growing to do, but he, I think these next 10 years are going to be pretty sick for Sungjae.
I mean, that's yeah, you just mentioned it. That's like an unquantifiable added weight on ex golfer's shoulder. I know the South Korean guys have to deal with that. So, was that anything you guys ever had to talk about or like deal with, like in your time with Sungjae? Because I mean, you or I wouldn't really know what it feels like to have that weighing over your shoulders. But now that he doesn't have to deal with it anymore, I feel like that is going to free him up a little more. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he'll take a deep breath every now and again and be like, no more pressure, no more pressure.
Wow.
But he's still, I would say, as tightly wound as he was before. But he absolutely, it's huge because he's expected to get that military exemption. It's shameful if he doesn't because he's so
Right.
talented, And so the conversely, getting the exemption and pulling it off, now he's like a national treasure, even more so. So like the consequences personally of not getting it done were so high, but then since he did get it done, he's just so happy. And everybody, he's such a superstar in Korea now, even more so.
Yeah, good for him. That's awesome. I totally forgot to even mention that. So, was there ever a time when you're caddying over the last few years where Sungjae hit a shot where you're like, this guy's different. Like you know when you know a great golfer. Have you ever had that moment with a Sungjae? And if there's an example, do you know what it is?
Yeah, I mean, some 2 3 woods that he's hit. Number 3 at Memphis, first round, third hole of the tournament. He hit a 3 wood from like 265 to that back right pin that you can't even hit a wedge close to. I mean, you can, but it's still a hard shot. And he hits 3 wood, and it goes like 3 feet. And then number 15, Olympia Field, Sunday.
Okay.
He'd just drive her down the left, right where you got to hit it. 3 wood, lipped out. And then when he hits it, Wyndham, the chip shots are crazy. I don't know if you know number 1
Yep.
and Wyndham, but the back left pin, Donald Ross, like big fall off. Final round, he blades one over the green, and he's just as screwed as you can get back there. And it was the best shot I've ever seen. It was a kick-in par, and most people would have made it. They would have just hit it to 30 feet, or but he did that like 3 times in that front nine that day. So anyway, the wedge shots, you realize he's different, and then the accuracy of the 3-woods.
That's. I mean, Sungjae always has those amazing shots. You just think the one in the desert that he hit to 2 feet a few years ago, and then I want to transition into, you mentioned talking about helping him on the greens. How much are you reading greens with them? Is it every hole? What are you reading? Just tell me about that process.
Every hole, yeah, every putt, and other than I would say inside of 3-4 feet, you don't want to take those apart too much.
Right.
But I mean, I'm a good grain reader, and we had to get our because like the speed obviously has tons of influence on the read. So he was reading putts as he's kind of a drippy guy. He's smooth, everything smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more of an aggressive putter. So it took a few weeks to like really figure out what he saw and and I had to explain to him how if our speed's different, the read's different. And once we figured that out, he's been putting a lot better. So yeah, I mean, he relies on me, I think, because he knows I read grain well. I mean, I grew up on Bermuda. He grew up on like paspalum and bent grass in Korea.
Yeah.
So I can read. So yeah, I just got a message from the Airbnb. Anyhow, yes, I've been competing for 31 years, reading all that stuff. So anyhow, it's cool that he trusts that.
So you mentioned that the grass types he grew up on. Does he have a preference of surface like week in, week out in the PGA Tour, or have you noticed that he putts significantly better on X surface?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely puts good on Bermuda.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Which isn't necessarily what he grew up on, but yeah, I mean, he now that he's got this new putter, he seems to roll the crap out of it.
Yeah, I always tend to gear up Sungjae on those short Bermuda tracks. So let's take it back a little bit. Give me your craziest Corn Ferry or mini tour story that you've experienced personally, or like you've noticed with other players, because you ran the mini tour circuit. So I know there's something crazy had to happen.
Can you repeat that one more time? I was thinking about that Airbnb message I got. Sorry.
Do you need to handle it for a second? I could pause.
No, I can call him after. No worries at all. But yeah, say that one more time, sir.
Okay, the craziest Corn Ferry or mini tour story that you've ever experienced. I know you had the Hooters tour experience, Corn Ferry tour experience. Something crazy had to have happened. So what was that?
I mean, just when it comes to like rules or just situation in general, or let's see. Let me try to think. That's a tough one. I mean, a lot of wild stuff happened. I mean, one time, one of my better finishes on tour was at Mayakoba, and we finished in the literal dark, and I was in like 25th or 6th, and I was like, great, top 25, that's awesome. And but then so they had to finish the next day, and this like massive storm came in, and it was blowing 30, and they were just double bogeying every hole, and I ended up moving up like 8 spots, like while laying in bed the next morning.
That's hilarious.
I enjoyed that.
Paycheck. Okay, so a few more questions. Like us as golf gamblers, bettors, always looking at data and trends. Are you guys looking at any data analysis, strokes gained? And if so, how often you guys are doing that?
I mean, he's so feely.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I mean, he just does. He'll get the TrackMan and everything to get his numbers dialed in, but he doesn't look at anything too much. I mean, it's so pure, and the game is so complete. He's just so consistent. He does the same thing every day, and it's not like 98% of the guys with TrackMan or foresight, picking it apart or anything like that. He doesn't have like a stats guy.
I understand. All right, 2 more questions. So give me a name of a guy that you've seen either growing up or even in your caddy ranks. You see a young amateur or a new guy, a new player come up, and you're like, this guy's different. This guy's going to be great, and you can't say Nick Dunlap.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I've been watching Nick for such a long time. I've known him since he was
Yeah.
7. We grew up at the same course. So,
So you knew it was coming, basically, is what you're saying.
I mean, she was kicking our asses 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, I
That's
remember
crazy.
he beat like Sepp Stracker or somebody that was on tour. It was either Smiley or Sepp, and he beat him like 6-5 in a match that we played one time when he was in high school.
That's
And
unbelievable.
so yeah, Nikki Dunlap. I mean Ben Carr's really good. I loved
Yep. Georgia
looping.
Southern, right?
Yeah, I loved looping for him. He didn't have any luck at second stage, but I think he's got a good head for it, and I mean he's just very stoic, and he's got just a solid game. So I think Ben will march through Q school at some point and do something good.
Okay. Okay. All right. Final question. What's the biggest thing you see in an amateur playing partner of Sungjae, an amateur playing partner of like one of your buddies? Just like a small thing you see in like a 10 handicap. Like you do one thing better, you'll take some strokes off your game.
Probably. Let's see. A lot of people like to like hold the face off because a lot of people want to they think I gotta hold the angle, hold the angle, hold the angle, even pass the ball. But that's because everybody throws the angle from the top and they early extend. So it's just I like that. If you watch Patrick Reed in slow motion, the amount of flip it's a flip,
Yeah.
it's a controlled flip, and that gives even more speed. And if you rotate your body right, that flip is perfect because it keeps the club face square. I think people just rehearse that hold off, even driver swing too often, and it just leads to an early extension and a hold off, and that causes a bunch of shanks and big slices, and so I don't know. I think the release of the club is just at the wrong time, and people need to figure out how to keep that elbow in and you know what I mean? Keep the club
Yeah,
set from the
that
top.
was a very specific answer, and I do appreciate that because I think people will get more out of that. I had Chris Goddard up on, and he said don't hit like long clubs. Basically, he was like people hit long clubs when they shouldn't. So that was a very unique and specific answer. So I do
Yeah.
that was God,
Yeah,
that was solid.
no worries.
Um, all right, so that about wraps it up. Quick
Yep.
30-minute interview. Will Wilcox, you guys know where to see him. Looping for Sungjae week in, week out, and they are going. I do believe a win is soon. This he'll tell you that the talent is unreal, and you guys know it's damn fucking Sungjae, guys. He's gonna fucking
Heck
win.
yeah.
So
Root for the Prince.
root for the prince, him all caps. Let's fucking go. Thank you,
Yep.
Will, for joining me, and I will definitely catch up with you soon.
No problem, dude. Thanks.